And it's unfortunate. And if you don't get the proper education growing up, unfortunately, you're chasing a feeling.
Yeah.
And you're going to forever chase that feeling, knowing that you're not going to be satisfied, because you're not just yearning for the sexual part of it. You're yearning for a connection. You're yearning for that piece that's going to make you feel whole, because that's the recreation of life, that cycle. So you're just chasing, as opposed to finding, keeping, enjoying, growing, and things like that.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Fuel Station's podcast for singles. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We are going to get into some juicy questions, some good information, just something to encourage the singles out there. So we're going to start by going around with some names. We'll start on this side.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sharice.
I am Jeremy Lyman.
I am your host, Jerome Woodard.
Hi, I am Charlotte.
And I am Keita.
Thank you. Yes, so we are going to get into some juicy questions. So we are going to get started. I'm going to start with the first question. You guys ready?
Bring it.
All right.
Bring it.
Why do you feel God wants singles to wait for marriage to have sex? Anyone could jump in, or we could do this in an orderly fashion. How you guys want to do this?
I say we just jump in, and I like to volunteer first so I can get out the way.
Okay, if you feel it, jump right on in.
Well, when it comes to it, there's a lot of things that comes into the sexual process, right? Like, there's a connection that happens, and there's a deeper understanding between the two people.
Yeah.
So, like, you don't want to jump in too soon, because you don't know what you're dealing with. You're just, let's face it, we're all young. When you hit that age, you start getting those urges. You start wanting the things that you see, and especially nowadays, it's everywhere, literally everywhere you turn. You want that, but you don't understand the other side of it. So I believe that now, with more understanding, more experience in life, it's like, okay, wait on this, so that when you connect with someone, you connect with the right person. You're not connecting miscellaneously. You're not connecting to the wrong people, because, you see a lot of people out there who are connected for 18 years with the wrong person, because, you're not off the hook until they're 18. And it's unfortunate. And if you don't get the proper education growing up, unfortunately, you're chasing a feeling.
Yeah.
And you're going to forever chase that feeling, knowing that you're not going to be satisfied, because you're not just yearning for the sexual part of it. You're yearning for a connection. You're yearning for that piece that's going to make you feel whole, because that's the recreation of life, that cycle. So you're just chasing, as opposed to finding, keeping, enjoying, growing, and things of that nature.
This guy right here, right? One of a kind.
Like a
Yeah, and also sex corrupts your judgment when you are trying to get to know each other. It can really cloud the fact that you start thinking that you love them, you start thinking all this stuff, and then when it doesn't work out, now there's a soul tie that you have to break. And soul ties could last for so long. It's not an easy thing to get rid of. So that's why God says to wait, because he knows what he has for you. He knows what he has planned for you. And I know a lot of people say, oh, well, I need to know before. Like, God knows what you like. So like, we don't have to go there just to find out. Like, I need to know what they working with. Like, no, God knows what they working with. But yeah.
One of the things that I was thinking about as it relates to the question is why does God want singles to wait? God is the manufacturer, right? He's the one who created it. So he knows all of the components that that sex, that comes about when you have sex, right?
Yeah.
So he understands the assignment, right? And so like Keita talked about, she touched on the soul tie. So sex is not just a physical act. It also involves our soul, and it also involves our spirit, right?
Yeah.
And Dr. Miles Monroe, I remember one day I was watching a video of his, and he talked about the violence that happens in our souls when we are, undoing a soul tie. When you have sex with a person, you become one with that person.
Yes.
That's what the Bible talks about. That's what God talks about. And you and two people become one. And so when you go to have that physical intimacy, right? When it's time to separate because you've done it out of order, it's violence. It's so violent, and it rips so much out of you. And so God understands how important it is to only connect with the person that you're supposed to be married to. So then you don't even have to go through that violent separation. You don't have to go through that hurt and that pain. And just on a real human side, once you pop, you just can't stop. It's like the Lay's commercial. You know, I bet you can't eat just one. Try it. Try it. Right? And it is like, oh Lord, oh God. I need you to help me. I need you to help me to hold out. But once you start, it is very difficult to stop. And it shows up everywhere. Like Jeremy said, like everywhere you turn around, you see it. And it's like, oh God, I'm trying not to do it. Like, I'm just going to like hold fast. And you can't even get on your phone without seeing some type of content that reminds you. It's everywhere. So if you know, like I know, don't start until don't start until you are ready and committed and you've made that decision for marriage, because it's really difficult to stop that thing, because it's so good and it feeds so much in you. And you could either feed the beast in you, right? Because sometimes the enemy is within us. The enemy is in me, right? So you either feed that or you feed the spirit, and that's the holding out.
And I just want to speak on what you said really, really fast. This may be a little bit too deep. So let me know if I'm going too deep.
No, you better talk.
But
All right now.
sex is literally worship to God.
It is. Absolutely.
When it's in the confinement
Of marriage.
of marriage. I just had to put that out there.
No, that was good, because you're always
went deep.
worshiping somebody. You're either worshiping God or you're worshiping the prince of this world, the ruler of this world.
Yes.
So absolutely, when you are in marriage, it's worship to
Yes.
God, right? And I'm like, oh Lord, you can work. That's worship, because you always think it's bad, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
So
Good in marriage. It's
Yes.
good in marriage and only in marriage.
Yes.
Well, and that goes to the other point you're talking about. Like when you're young, when you don't know what you're doing, it's like, I'm chasing this because there are benefits to worship, and there are benefits to doing all these things the right way. And it's just like, I want that feeling. Like, I'm going to put myself on blast. I'm not a virgin, but like, if I could go back and really understand what this was, it's like, okay, now I can actually address this a lot more rational.
Right.
Because I'm like, when you're younger, you know, it's important to have these kind of conversations from adults and us say, look, we did it already. So I'm not just up here talking like, yes, I have no idea what I'm talking about. I never experienced it before, but you don't do it. No, been there, done that.
Yeah,
Let me tell you what I've learned. And what I've learned is that there is more to it than just that feeling.
Exactly.
Because like when you do stuff and the devil gets the benefits from it, you are left drained, you are left exhausted, you are left longing, you are left just wanting, like, where was the fun? Like, I can tell you how many times I was in college and I chasing tail in college and at the clubs doing stuff, just being real. And, you know, it was exhausting. You're going out to the club all night trying to get this person, trying to get that one. All the time I wasted over these years trying to go after something, this idea of, and I was never happy. I was never happy with it. And it's like, why am I constantly chasing tail when I could actually understand what's going on, understand that when I find my partner, I'm not on a chase anymore. I'm in a good space and I'm somewhere where I can really be happy and I can look that person in the eye and say, okay, I actually do love you and this is us. Like, this is really us, as opposed to just bouncing and bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. It's annoying.
And it saves you from so much generational curses, so many things that's a cycle you know, having kids out of wedlock, being a single mom, being a single dad. Like God knows, He's like, I'm trying to save you from this.
That stuff is exhausting.
Yeah, it is.
But I know it's exhausting.
And I was gonna actually say as well too is that there's spirits attached to people. Every time you lay with somebody, you bringing on all they demons,
Definitely.
everything and we don't think that way. Now you wonder why you angry, depressed. You don't even understand. You're like, well, I'm never like this. So it's important that we don't share our bodies. And it's important. It's our temple. We shouldn't be just giving it to anybody but the person in marriage. So I agree with them.
But here's a PSA. Understand that when you hit a certain age, your body's changing. So if you don't know what's going on necessarily, ask someone for help.
Yeah.
Talk to someone, watch this podcast, talk to people that actually can really help explain this to you, because, you know, Jerome, we could talk about middle school when, you know, it's like, I'm not getting up to write on the board. I'm not going to go answer that question because my body's changing.
Yeah.
My body's changing.
Yeah.
It's literally right there. I can't hide it. But when those things happen, there you need to have somebody you can talk to understand what's going on, because you're just at a point in your life where you're physically able to recreate.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you should. But a lot of times now you're indoctrinated with it so much from the time you put a device in your hand that all you want is this, and that's it.
Yeah.
But you don't realize everything else that comes with it, and all the ramifications that happens after it. It's like, if I'd have known that, I'd have just went and prayed a little bit more or something.
Yeah.
Did something different, because I did not know I was about to walk into this big old wide world of what the heck is going to happen now.
Yeah. Even
Wow.
even sex with yourself that corrupts when it's time to get into marriage, because now you think they got to perform the way that you saw, you know.
100%, 100%.
So like it is so many keys to why God tells us to wait, like, you know, and it's just amazing just to know what He wants to do in our lives as far as marriage.
I was gonna put another point. I think to just help us to, one, have patience, and two, self-control,
Definitely.
which is, you know, fruit of the spirit. Exactly. So those are, you know, two of the fruits that we need to learn how to control, understand, all these things. So I just wanted to add that extra little point in there because you guys made lovely points. So
Amen. Amen. That you guys did great. We got this, guys. All right, going into the next question, because that was juicy. Y'all ready for the next one?
That was straight.
I got you guys. That right.
That was it. Thank you.
Now we're gonna hop over to more of a positive side. Here's the next question. You guys ready?
All right.
All right. What are some benefits to being single and saved?
learning yourself for sure.
Ooh, let's talk about it.
All right, I'll jump in again. I thought you were supposed to say something. I'm ready.
I don't know. That's what jumped out to me the most is that, you know, people feel like they always need to be around people, or which you do. I'm not saying that you don't, but knowing what you like, what you don't like, just knowing yourself. I don't know. It's just so much with this. This is a loaded question.
It is.
It's a lot coming to my mind. I can't really process what I'm trying to say, but essentially learning yourself.
All right, I'll tag in off of that one. Yeah. You know, like I grew up in church. We talked about that. I have my own background and all that stuff in church, but understanding what it is now, right? Finding that relationship with God now and being technically single now, it's like, yeah, you really get to know yourself. You get to know the reflection that you see every single day. You get to learn how you handle people, situations, how you act within your village, how you act within your workplace, how you act within everything else. What is the things that make you happy? What are the things that tear you down? What are the things that just drive you crazy? You know, and if you don't know yourself, right, then how are you going to make it with anyone else? If you don't know how to communicate. So even if you weren't always saved and you walked into a relationship with God with depression, or you walked into a relationship with God with abuse, or any of these type of things, now I have to find peace in God. I have to find my personal peace, because I can't share any piece of me if I don't have peace in me.
Yeah.
So like, those are the type of things that you really got to understand. And being single allows you to say, okay, God, it's you and me. Like every day is you and me. What's today? You know, I don't know what I'm going to face, but I want to make sure that whatever it is, I'm ready. So now when I have a partner and they have their own experience, they have their own life, they have everything else that's their own, we know how to handle ourselves. So now we learn how to communicate with each other so that now we can grow and have a successful relationship. And then going back to question one, when you do have sex, now it is a worship. And if you have kids, now you're raising kids in an environment of love, care, respect, identity, all these things that a lot of these kids today are lacking because they're raised in broken homes.
Yeah.
And everything else.
Yeah, and that word identity is real good because that's a benefit to being single and being saved. You find your identity, you become whole. Because what happens is if you get into a relationship and you're not whole and you don't know your identity, what can happen is you can't bring on that person's identity. Now you become that person. And then in the long run, you lose yourself. And then you try to figure out, well, what happened? What's going on? Why am I not happy? You never found yourself. You never, now you're doing everything that they do. You know, you're trying to find a way out and you can't find a way out because you haven't been whole with yourself. So it's like, you know, dating yourself is cool, taking yourself out. The worst thing is when that person leave that house and they gone for a couple hours and you like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? Like, you got to know what to do. Like, relax, like read a book, go hang with your friends.
Hobbies, something.
You know, something like what you like to do. You trying to find a GPS to go find wherever they at because you so alone. You need somebody to listen.
Going crazy.
But see, like, who am I without you versus who am I with you?
Yes.
Like, if I don't know who I am and you're not there, yeah, I'm gonna be all up in. And it's also good to establish a village.
Yeah.
Like, have some friends, have some people that you can be around, so that if you're not with your partner, we typically don't want to be alone as people. But if we have a successful community of like-minded individuals, so in this case, we have a village of believers here, right? So yeah, if I'm not with someone, I can be here, I can be there. Like, I have something to occupy my time. We can check out Fuel Station on YouTube and, you know, watch the videos of Fuel Station on YouTube and make sure we check the Facebook page and, you know, watch the reels on Facebook. They come out so that, you know, we can continue to grow that self identity. So it's like, all right, cool. I know there are other believers out here. I know there are other people who are searching too. So if I connect with these people as well, now, even if I'm not with my partner or somebody that I want to be with, I'm still doing something constructive and growing, like checking Fuel Station out on YouTube. New videos every Sunday, 6 a.m.
You know, one of the things that I had thought about when Jerome read the question is my mind went to being single, saved, and in ministry, right? And I think about the Apostle Paul, right? He was a single man and he was able to go and build so many different churches. He was able to fully give himself over to the ministry and fully give himself over to God. And I think sometimes we miss that. We think like, I just have to be with somebody because I just want somebody to lay with. But you think about the legacy that single people get to leave, right? Because you don't want, once you're married, right? Not God should always be your first priority, your center, because that's what's going to keep the marriage together. But after God, it's going to always be your spouse, right? You have an obligation, you have a responsibility, and you have to be accountable to somebody else. But when you're single, you have an opportunity to kind of just be free, like, right? That identity, you get to be with yourself, you get to love on yourself, you get to do all of these things, but then you don't have to answer to anybody but God. So if right now today, if I want to just buy a one-way ticket to Hawaii, I can do that because I don't have to say,
Amen
oh husband, can I go? No, because you got.
We don't want to ask right now.
Right? I don't have to ask permission. I can go and do and be free and really experience life. It is awesome to be able to just kind of flow and you don't have the responsibility. I think, especially for women and women of color, we have been so responsible for so many people until you don't know yourself.
Yeah.
That's been my experience, you know, having to take care of people essentially all my life. And now it's like, whoo, I don't got nobody to take care of. And I just be sitting at home like, well, I guess I should read a book. You know, for a minute it was Jack, but it's such freedom, and you have such liberty when you are single to be able to go and be free and really experience this world. And once you are able to, like, I think of Coming to America, he told them, go and sow your royal oats. Now we ain't gonna go, bro. But just right, don't go sow no royal oats in that way. But you get to experience life on your terms. And then when you do, if you do decide, because sometimes you just want to be married. I mean, you just want to be single, and that's okay too. It's nothing wrong with being single. But when you decide to go into marriage, you'll decide to go in it as a whole person, knowing who you are, knowing what you like, knowing everything. I think of the movie Runaway Bride. This is going to be the last thing I say about this. She was in so many different relationships, and she liked the eggs of every single man that she was with. And when she decided to be single, they asked her, well, what kind of eggs do you like? She didn't even know what kind of eggs. She didn't know how she liked her eggs scrambled, sunny side up, over easy, because she took on the personality. She became so dependent on the person that she was with. So being single gives you an opportunity to just get to know yourself and what you like. So when you do get in with someone, when you do go into marriage with somebody, he might like sunny side up eggs, but guess what? I'm gonna make mine scramble. I'm gonna make them the way he like them, right? But I'm gonna eat mine the way I want to eat them. You know yourself, and you have that full identity.
And
I
another point. I'm ready.
let me jump in real quick.
Come on.
So this side up.
I'm just saying.
I just want to say, man, I forgot my point. But go ahead.
I was saying, well, I love sociology, right? I love looking at social things online. And one of the things I noticed when you were talking is, like, when I looked at different people on Instagram, and you see a lot of single mothers, right? And it's, I am such and such mother. That's the first part of their description. You see it on Facebook, you see it on Instagram, all these different things. I'm such and such parent first. And I always wonder, I'm like, who are you before that child came here?
Yeah.
Like, who are you? And that brings that point so strong. And even with our young people now, they want to be grown so bad. They don't want to grow. They want to skip to the end. Like, as a basketball coach, I look at my athletes on JV, and it's like, oh, y'all want to be varsity. Y'all want to be pro basketball players, but you don't want to learn the fundamentals. You want to be an adult, but you don't know how to adult. So it's like, wait a minute. If you want to be at the end, then what does it mean? Who took the middle out of it? And essentially, that's the value system that was lost. And you see it spiritually, you see it secularly. There's no value system for the lessons learned in life that will allow you to properly mature. So we're all in our late 20s, 30s up here. And we're talking about these things.
Don't be telling my age.
I ain't nothing in particular. Nothing in particular. I'll tell my age. I'm 36.
She gave a range.
And at 36 now, like, I'm seeing things that if I learned this, 15, 16 years ago, I probably wouldn't been able to accept it fully, even though I was raised in an environment around people that told me to stay in a child's place. But most of these kids now, you tell a child to stay in a child's place, they're still in your face because they don't know what a child's place is. It doesn't exist. They want to be grown. And as a society, we take kids and we put them on this pedestal from the time they're young. They run everything.
Yeah.
Well, can I jump in with that? I just one of the things as
Y'all gonna let me jump in. I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
trying to jump in too. Look, no, but just one of the things I wanted to say about kids. Sometimes I think we're a little tough on the kids, but they only do what they're taught. They only do what they're allowed to do, right? And they have to have a proper foundation. So hurt people, even in parenting, right? If you're not healed as a parent, you're gonna hurt your child, right? And I think even from birth, right? Doctor, I can't think of the doctor's name, but it's the process of making the child stay asleep at night, right? Infants, brand new babies, right? We want to sleep train them so that when the baby is in there crying, they're upset, they don't know anything about this world, and they say no. The doctors will tell you, let the baby cry it out, let them figure it out. days old, months old. They don't have any understanding. As an infant, safety is the biggest thing, right? And we teach kids, it don't matter how you feel then. So we start these infants off like, well, you just gonna have to figure it out. And then these kids have to figure it out all the time. And if you allow kids to figure it out, they find themselves in situations when they're giving themselves over and giving their bodies over to people that they shouldn't. So a lot of what's going on in society is because we don't have proper understanding. If you know, like I know, be a kid as long as you could be a kid. Because let me tell
Wish I
you,
could go back.
let me tell you what, because rent is due. But be a kid as long as you can. And we need to celebrate being a kid. But you know what we say? We have such negative outlooks about kids. When you hear people like out in the street talking, I ain't no kid. Don't talk to me like I'm no kid. You shouldn't be talking to kids like that anyway. But we lower and we demean children in such a way so they just feel like, you know what, I'm gonna just be grown. I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna grow up so nobody else can talk to me like this. So nobody else. So that even comes from a hurt place, is because the people who are supposed to care about me, the people who are supposed to be over me, they don't.
Yeah. And also
true.
in that part of being single, if you're desiring to be married, that gives you the opportunity to really reevaluate yourself as part of being in a relationship. You start to look to say, okay, am I a person with a quiet spirit? Can I let this person have the last word? What is it that I have to work on to make sure that I'm ready when I'm even in that relationship? Because yeah, you could be single, you could get to know yourself and everything else, but you want a marriage, right? But now we don't even know how to get into that marriage. So it's like, now you can really focus, get whatever you got to do to find out what do you have to do to be in a godly marriage, you know? And that's just one thing that I had to learn on my own. So this is why I'm bringing it up, because I like to speak from experience. But I literally had to sit down and be like, yo, Keita, like, your mouth is like this. Like, you can't even be quiet long enough for somebody,
that's real though.
to say anything
That's
to
real.
you. You know what I mean? You jump up whenever you feel like somebody is saying something wrong, and it's like, it's just a lot of things that we should learn in our singleness to be ready, you know? So.
And I would just say, like, to close this question out, is that one of the benefits I believe is that someone very wise in my family told me this before, and they said, so things come when you least expect it. So if you're so involved into yourself, you're not really thinking about a spouse or mate. Not saying that should never be on your mind, but it's a simple fact of you're so in love with yourself, you having too much fun.
Yeah.
Like Charlotte said, you traveling. That's how you actually meet people, honestly. It's just we think, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do it. Sometimes relax, have fun.
Yeah.
You got God, pray, but somebody, y'all gonna link. It's just gonna happen.
So true.
But we just get caught up with not having fun and not being with ourselves. So we don't do anything. I don't know about y'all. I take myself out to eat. I love it. I will sit there and be like, can I have some breadsticks? They're like, why is he getting all these breadsticks? Just him. Because
I love breadsticks.
I love breadsticks.
Give me my carbs.
I went to the movies by myself. I did a lot of things. So fall in love with yourself, guys.
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
Because
Be comfortable by yourself.
Be comfortable. Love yourself. That way, when somebody do come with disrespect, you love yourself. You ain't gonna deal with it. You like, nah, I'm good.
Right.
You can't do me any kind of way.
Right.
I remember I let people do me any kind of way because I didn't love myself. I thought I could just be strong and stuff. I had to realize, like, yo, you know what? This actually hurt me. I don't want to deal with somebody who do that. Well, I don't want to deal with this. This is important. But we keep saying, well, you know, if they don't fit, let it go.
Let it go.
Okay? Because you're taking up room for what God's really trying to bless you with. So just
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I know you're trying to transition, but you brought up another point to my mind. When you're single
okay,
and
brother.
saved, right? Now you're building a relationship with you and God.
There
So
you
you're
go.
not by yourself. You're building
There you go.
a better relationship with your
Definitely.
creator,
He's your friend.
who created your partner, who
Definitely.
he's preparing you for, because you're building a relationship with him.
Definitely.
So you're never actually single, but you're just building a different type of relationship. So all of those skills that you're working on, like taking yourself out, these are ways you be considerate, you be mindful,
Yeah.
you understand, what do I want in this moment? Because we all here to see the stuff on TV. What do you want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? I don't know. It's just like, what? If I learn
still
what
don't know
I
what I
like,
wanna
now I
Me too.
if I know I like such and such and such. So when I get a partner, these are the things I like you said about the eggs. I don't like scrambled eggs. I like sunny side up. I mean, I love scrambled eggs, but in that
Oh, I really thought you liked sunny side up.
No. But I'm saying, like, that's the thing, though. Once you know who you are, and once you know who, your relationship with God and his son, Jesus Christ, now you're preparing yourself for that other relationships,
Yeah, definitely.
any other relationship.
Exactly.
But it's just, these are the things that I can pretty much say all of us would agree that we wish we learned in our teens, in our youth, so that we mastered these skills. Because I'll say for me, at least, I didn't start working on this stuff until my 30s. Versus, even though I grew up in church, I didn't work on this stuff until my 30s. If I'd have did this 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I would be a completely different person now. But I wouldn't be sitting up here having this conversation, talking about what I learned recently, because I would have already known it and I'd have been somewhere else. So
That's real.
But one of the things that you just brought out, Jeremy, I think we did know. I think, just like we're on the series right now is knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, or, whatever. I think we did have knowledge of it. Because somebody said something to us, somebody taught us something. But the problem was the understanding. We didn't have an understanding of why is it important? Why is it important for me to abstain from certain things? It's like exactly right.
Come on
like
now.
if I don't understand why, it's just like you have that
pointless to you.
It's pointless, right? It's like I don't need to do this. I can do it because you're not telling me why. And sometimes we get upset with kids when kids say why just because I said so. No, you need to answer them. So answer them so they can have the understanding and then the application of the wisdom. So I'm just not gonna do it, because if I do it, right, I'm gonna have some issues.
Right.
And that's the point I was getting to, that you carried home with that one with our kids. With kids in general, we make them so important, but then we don't prepare them for anything.
Come on.
Like, I'll tell this quick anecdote and I'm out of here.
Is it quick? You sure?
I promise. I was at
It's not, guys. So get some popcorn, because it's not.
No,
just
tea.
playing.
This is tea. Now, I was at Little Caesars, and I saw this little guy standing there. He was learning how to read, and he was reading the letters and numbers he saw on the pizza warmer. And mom, auntie, whomever the adult was ignoring him. And he was celebrating the fact that he could recognize and read the numbers, but you're ignoring him. And I was sitting there just like, somebody tell this little boy good job. Like, somebody give him some praise, because he's reading in public, and y'all just like, yeah, so can I get my $5 hot and ready? It's like, can you pay attention to this child? He's reading. And now if he doesn't want to read because nobody acknowledges it, you just took the love for that from him.
There you go.
And you took a part of his childhood that now he has to go back and learn later on in life. Because at the moment where he could have learned it and all it would have took is, I'm proud of you, or good job, or high five, it was gone.
Yeah.
That little piece means something. It does.
But I also think when you find yourself in those situations and you become aware of it, it's your responsibility to go ahead on and say, "Good job." You know what I mean? Because I hope you don't feel like I'm coming at you, but I think sometimes the Lord will show us some things and highlight some things to us, and it's our responsibility to do it, because you have no idea. We have no idea what was going on with the family, so we have to be careful about passing judgment, right? Because it's just what we see in a snapshot.
But we also must use wisdom, because not every situation is a good situation. So
Talking
sometimes
to somebody's child like, hey, little buddy.
when you try to get shot, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that
It's real
reminds
life
me-
out here. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that reminds me of the other day. We was at Dave and Buster's, and a little kid came up and interfering with our game. We could have got upset, and the lady kept saying, I'm so sorry. She couldn't even control the baby or whatever.
They never can.
But he took one of our playing ping pong balls, and we was like, no, he okay, he fine, go ahead. He hit the little ping pong thing, and we clapped. We was like, yay. Just that little thing, it made him happy, like, oh, I did it. Like, so in your sense of what you were saying, how to take that responsibility. So
Time and place, too.
Time and place. Man, wow.
I said we transition on. We're going to
Yeah, we gotta do
I don't know how we
this.
got there, but we got there.
We gotta do this. Y'all having a good time though?
Absolutely.
Everybody having a good time? This is beautiful.
This is our podcast.
I'ma hit
by
y'all.
Station.
I'm going to let you guys know one more question, and it's a juicy one, but it's gonna make you guys think. All right, here we go.
Thinking.
What do you think Christian singles are truly looking for? Take your time. I can read it again.
So, Christian singles are looking for everything that they give out. So,
That's
if I'm
good.
a lover, they're looking for love. If I'm a helpmate, they're looking for someone else that's going to help. If there's someone who's a giver. It plays a part of the love languages. It really does. It really does. If you're a gifter, you would want someone to gift you back. You know, you just want someone who's trustworthy. You want all the love that God give you and you give yourself to come from someone else.
Agreed.
And that's my you know.
I'll jump in and say compatibility.
There you go.
Like, you know, and it's really subjective for this question because everybody's going to be a little bit different. But just for me, is somebody who can understand me, who can understand where I am, where I'm going, who can not even speak the same language, but just understand it, translate it so that, you know, it's like, okay, maybe I'm not seeing this right. Like, help me out. You know, I like to observe a lot of things and I talk a lot. So if I'm a talker and you're a talker, we're going to clash heads because somebody might talk. And 9 out of 10 is probably going to end up being me talking because I talk a lot.
Yeah.
You know, but
patient.
But yeah, it's that for me, it's that compatibility factor. You know, are we compatible in these senses? Are we compatible with our lifestyles, with our food loves, with our whatever? Like, we don't have to like all the same things. We don't have to do all the same things, but do we have that good common ground? Can we understand each other? Like, my walk with Christ is not going to be your walk with Christ, but are we still walking?
Yes.
You know, and are we understanding that, yes, there are some things we're going to do together. There are some things we're going to do apart, but we're walking in the right direction. We're growing. We're just compatible.
Yeah.
We fit together and we can do what we need to do. And then you can go do what you need to do. I can go do what I need to do.
Right.
Like, it has to work. It has to be fluid. So I think some people will be looking just for somebody who complements who they are.
Yeah.
And especially when they know who they are.
Yeah.
If you've taken the time to know who you are, finding somebody who complements that will make your life, I feel, a ton easier because now you get me.
Yeah.
You don't have to fully get everything, but you get the general idea of who I am. So even when something changes, you'll notice a change. Now let's talk about it.
Yeah. And a lot of Christians they're so closed-minded. So when they're looking for someone, they're looking for the perfect person. They're looking, does he pray 10 times like me? Does he worship like me? Does he go to church every Sunday? And God he's such an amazing God that they're not going to come in the picture that you think they are. And so that's why that's why you see a lot of people in the church nowadays that's been single for 20, 30 years because they've been looking for this perfect person.
Oh my
and
God.
I'm like, he's not going to look like
How you
what
looking for
you
somebody
think.
perfect? Ain't nobody in the pews no more.
Look, he is not going to look like what you think they're going to look like, or she ain't going to look like. She may love God, but she may not read her word that much. She may love God, but she may not pray that much. She may love God, but that's God's job to grow that. So, you know, we really just got to understand who God is.
Right.
And when you have an understanding of who God is, then you really ain't even going to try to do his job and have an expectation on what you're looking for in Christ as far as a relationship.
Right. I'm sorry, Drew. I was going to pick it because we basically had the same
Yeah, go
point.
ahead.
It's just everything else will fall in place. Like, if the person that you end up being with, you guys both love God. If you love God, you know how to treat that person.
Yeah.
It's just everything is going to work out how it's supposed to because you guys know how to love each other because you guys both love God.
Yeah.
And like she said, you know, it might be some differences, which is fine, just like what Jeremy was saying, but y'all work. Y'all compatible.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it. Everything else will fall in line. And then too, you can pray.
Yes.
Y'all can both pray for each other. Things will change. God knows what, you know, both of you guys need. So just fall back, let God do his job.
Amen.
Wow.
Sister.
I was actually gonna add too, like, what do I think that Christian singles are truly looking for is a best friend that can go through the fight with you while you do, because this world is so corrupted. It's crazy. So
offended.
to have somebody to come home to and be able to just be like, that's how my day was, and they can understand, relate. You can have full on conversations with these people. It's a beautiful thing because it's a lot of judgment out here and our walk is not going to always be like, we're not going to always walk the straightest ever. We're going to have some bumps. We're going to but just to have that friend to be able to come home to and just be like, you get me. Kind of like what he was saying, you get me. Yeah, it's a lot. So yeah,
Because so many people are offended, and you don't
over life,
You never know when they gonna quit. You like
right?
this not even a quitting moment. This a let's get through this together.
That's what I'm
moment.
right. Yeah,
That's where the prayer comes in.
that's where the prayer comes in.
The thing that jumped out at me
Go ahead,
originally
Pastor.
when you asked that
Come on,
question,
Pastor.
no pastor here. Oh man, don't do it. You know what? I think that Christian singles are essentially looking for somebody that will give them unconditional positive regard, right? Who you can absolutely and 100% be yourself with. They will love you for who you are. They will not try to change you. Like Jerome said, they're going to walk through this fight with you. They're going to go through this thing with you. They're going to be able to boost you up, and you'll be able to boost them up, right? I think that that's one of the biggest things, is just for somebody to love and to be and to love someone and to be loved by someone unconditionally. So I might slip up. You know what? I might not read my word today. I might not do this. I might not do that well, but I'm gonna stick with you, and you're gonna stick with me throughout it all. Somebody that you can grow with, because you marry one person, but as you grow and you go through this life, you become a different person. You will
Yes, you do.
continue
Continually.
you will continue to evolve. You will continue to grow. And so you have to be able to be with somebody that's going to grow with you. It is nothing worse than two people being in a marriage and one person grow and one person is doing a thing, and that one person is just like, no, where you going? No, you got to grow with me. So I think for me, it would definitely be somebody that has unconditional positive regard, and that person is going to grow up with me.
Yes.
I mean, and accountability partner. That's a beautiful thing to have. You may not like it, but it's good to have because you can't always be right. Somebody got to tell you about yourself. So you need to have that. And I think that's important.
And, because this is, Fuel Station Church, check us out on YouTube. Like, it's important to know that relationship with God will help, like, fulfill the relationship with a person. Because when you have a relationship with God, okay, now, we had a disagreement about something. And he's like, well, I was right. And then he's like, no, he wasn't. You know what? I wasn't right on that one. I got to come back and apologize. But my relationship with God would tell me,
Yeah.
that your pride was up on this one. You need to step back and get together and then come back to this. And then God's will on your life will tell you that you're wrong. And then your partner's life will say, they were wrong. They're going to come back to you and apologize, but don't gloat. Love on them. Grow with them, because this isn't the moment for that. And if you do this wrong, you messed this up, because I'm telling you that they're going to come back, because I put it on their heart they were wrong. They got to come back to you now to apologize for it. So having that relationship with God gives you a bit of that, basically that trifecta, that triangle there. I've been talking about basketball players about triangle passes. So the triangle there, you have, God up here, and then it's my partners. We're, so even if, God may be speaking more directly on one side and it's a little bit longer because this person is not as close as they need to be, but that connection is still there. And it creates those lines of communication to say, okay, I need this. Now we can get it. I need that. Now we can get it. And we're good. So they just, it just having that relationship with God helps to have a relationship with anyone else. And then it also helps you know what you're looking for and why. So you have to start off with that relationship with God first. So then it ushers in everything else, and everything works so much better.
Yes.
Wow. Any final remarks before we close?
Every Sunday, there's a new video for Fuel Station Church. Check it out. On YouTube, Facebook, fuelstationchurch.org. And
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Fuel Station Podcast for Singles. We had an amazing time. We pray that this was very encouraging to you beautiful, lovely singles out there. And we look forward to talking to you guys very, very, very soon. God bless.